So our next speaker is our own Miss Natasha Haque. Big round of applause for her. I do not need to introduce her to DIA students and staff, but for the other schools here, Miss Natasha is the Deputy MYP Coordinator at DIA, and she also teaches geography. And the rest, I think I'll just give the mic over to her.
Thank you. You might be a bit surprised to see me up here today. I have to say it is a bit nerve-wracking, actually. But since I'm up here, most of you probably think you have a pretty good idea of what I do and what my job involves. But I'm here today to pitch for my profession. Unfortunately, the United Nations estimates that nearly 69 million new teachers need to be recruited and trained in order to achieve global, universal, primary and secondary education. Just think about that for a second. For every child to have the opportunities that you are considering today, we need a lot more teachers. The figure is from UNESCO, and although the shortage is worldwide, the biggest shortage of teachers is in sub-Saharan Africa and in South Asia. Currently, next slide. Thanks. Currently, there are 263 million children out of school globally. It has been shown repeatedly that the students who leave school without completing secondary education or without relevant skills have fewer life prospects. And how does this manifest? Well, lower incomes is one of them. Lower lifetime earnings, more difficulties in adapting to changing knowledge-based economies, and higher risks of unemployment. So finishing school is a good idea. Education failure also imposes high costs on society. Poorly educated people limit an economy's capacity to produce, grow, and innovate. At this point, can I ask how many people here are considering a job in education? Wow. Unfortunately, that is pretty common and probably a little bit expected, and that's why I'm here. I want to tell you a little bit about my journey and how I came into teaching, because I do believe this is absolutely the best job in the world. Sorry. Okay, next slide. At 16 years of age, I only knew two things about myself. Number one, I loved geography above and beyond any other subject in school. Number two, I loved London. It is the best city on the planet. So, I diverted all my attention at that point to get into university to study geography in London. That was my only goal. I was relentless. I had to convince my parents, probably the biggest and toughest task I had. My parents were open to the idea of studying geography, but had no idea what careers that could possibly lead to. So I had to convince them. And they were fine with it as long as I got to a good university. So I somehow managed to convince them and did that. And since then, 2015 survey showed, in the UK at least, geography and psychology graduates are amongst the most employable, finding jobs in the environment sector, urban planning, development, the financial sector, civil service, education, and general management jobs. So if you're facing subject choices, which I know many of you will be, or are, or will do next year, geography is a good bet. However, I digress a little. And like most of you, when I left school, I had absolutely no desire to go into teaching. I wanted to do a job in development, like some of the people here. Next slide. So after my 3-year degree in geography, I moved down the road to another university and did another degree in development studies, assured that that's what I wanted to do. After which I did land a job. My first job was actually with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR, in London. It was a short contract, and I enjoyed the experience, and I did learn an awful lot. I learned many of the things that have been touched upon earlier. But for whatever reason, it didn't feel like the perfect fit for me. So I knew I wanted to get back into, much to my parents' disappointment by this time, it was getting on to 4 years in university after however many years in school. I moved across the pavement to yet another institution to do qualification in teacher training. And I have to say, it was the best decision I made, because since then, I've never looked back, and I love my job. Next slide. So my first job was in a boys' boarding school just outside London. And then I went on to teach internationally in Bahrain, Dubai, and now Tanzania. So let me tell you why my job is so awesome. Next slide. The best part of the job is actually you. You, as in the students. It is impossible not to learn something from you, be inspired by your energy, and sometimes even your lack of energy and inattention. And if you've ever taken a few minutes on any given day to just stop and listen to the white noise that goes on in a school, you'll know that it is the most beautiful sound ever. It's just a constant hum of laughing, learning, failure, success, teaching, determination, playing, all those wonderful magical sounds. Watching you learn and grow and fail and develop is a beautiful struggle, and one that I will never get tired of being a part of. Growing up is hard. Finding your place in the world is harder, and it can be difficult no matter what your age or stage in life. But being part of your journey as you figure out what is your place in the world is really a privilege. It's like being able to touch the future, a future that I probably cannot exactly imagine or figure out what it will look like. The most wonderful thing happens years after you've taught someone and they randomly get in touch. They tell you the amazing things that they have done, and in that moment, just when you open that message and you've read it, you realize that somehow their geography teacher was important enough for them to get back in touch with, to tell them about the journey that they had, and to keep them informed. Some of the more interesting jobs my ex-students have gone on to do is one student has become a marine biologist and has developed the first snot bot. This is a drone which hovers over whales and collects the fluid that comes out of whale blowholes and analyzes what's going on there. Some of the other students that I've had, a student who I taught in Dubai just 2 years ago, reached out to me in November to tell me she had been elected as the first female president of Manchester University's Law Society. So as I'm getting older, the list is getting longer. And some of my first lot of students are now having their children. They're becoming parents. So that feeling in itself is brilliant. Next slide. The next best thing about my job is being part of a team of committed educators. Teaching is the most noble and honorable and important profession that we have in society. And quality teachers are as close to true living superheroes that we have in our world. Committed educators are change agents. They are sculptors, they are artists, they are mentors, they are role models, and they are oftentimes underappreciated, especially when they're giving grades. We might all have different approaches as teachers, but when we're coming together, most teachers that I've ever worked with all come together with the sole purpose of finding and working towards finding the best outcome for their students. Most teachers are working towards creating empathetic, compassionate, critical thinkers, and creative members for our community and our future communities. What I enjoy most are the discussions and opportunities with colleagues to transform how we teach you, how we design and redesign learning spaces, how we write and deliver curriculum, how we prepare you for a rapidly changing world with jobs that probably don't even exist right now. What a challenge, what an opportunity to be innovative and transformational. Finally, the unexpected. An educator's day never goes as planned, and I love it. In all of those pictures, I'm actually at work. The thing about school is that you can never know from one second to the next what will come your way. And that is the uncertainty that makes me love my job. There's always the unexpected mini crisis with a student, with an issue with a parent or a teacher, which keeps us on our toes. From 1 hour to the next, you can be floored by a student accomplishment, and you can be bewildered by a decision that is made either by a student or an adult. And you can have a belly laugh at something that students say to you and make you really laugh from the depth of your core, and then be thrown into a situation that will absolutely break your heart. An individual school day is just like a student, ever-changing, unpredictable, surprising, and always quite beautiful. Take Miss Schwetter. She is part math teacher, part event planner today, planning this wonderful event, graduation in a couple weeks' time, part tour organizer, planning a great trip tour to Mafia, but full-time creative, thinking about creative ways to think differently, and there's never a dull moment. Another reason that I love my job, and I won't lie, is the holidays. There are some practical elements to think about when you're working. It's true, the job has great vacation time, which is great for that work-life balance some people were talking about earlier. But most of all, like many of the other speakers have said before, if you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work, and it's a constant learning. Each and every day, I learn and relearn something new. I learn about people, I learn about how to best support and challenge them, I learn about current educational trends and research, I learn about what's been successful in other quality schools, and it's staggering to see how much you can learn just in a typical school day. What other profession can offer you such a joyful and purposeful experience? I've now been through school as a student, as a teacher, and a parent, and I can safely say from each perspective, there is no place where you witness so much positive growth. Sometimes people say, I can't imagine working with kids. Well, I can't imagine working without them. But this isn't just a job as a fallback option. I know many hands didn't go up, but actually it's a job which, to do it well, you have to enjoy it. And in countries like Japan, Finland, and South Korea, the best and brightest, those who go to the best universities and the brightest students, go into teaching. And they have some of the best education systems. We need great minds to focus on education if more children are to have the opportunities that many of you are sitting here thinking about today. So I would encourage you to think about education as one of your choices.